Hey there, welcome back to True North Reviews. My name is Ryan, and today we're doing an installment of Hot and Cold. This week's episode, we'll be looking at the best and worst tracks known as the Hot and Cold between February 24th and March 2nd, 2019. To be qualified, a song must have been released within that time frame. It's pretty straightforward. First up with the hot tracks, we have the biggest single that people have been raving about this year, at least in terms of the late teenager to 25-year-old age bracket. We have a reunion of Joe, Kevin, and Nick Jonas. The Jonas Brothers are back. Their new single is entitled Sucker, and this is the first time the trio have put out new material since 2013. As expected, nothing much has changed with their sound. It's a very poppy single. Nick and Joe have obviously taken influence from their solo careers and their vocal deliveries, Nick being under his own name and Joe being under the DNCE title. But outside this, I'm more confused with where Kevin is on this track. It's hard to distinguish his voice. It's like he's missing an action. I took a quick look at the Genius credits, and we're getting contributions from Ryan Tedder of One Republic. He produced the song. He also is playing bass along with Louis Bell, who has worked with Post Malone. Ryan Tedder also provides backing vocals, and he programs the drums on this song. The guitarists are also not any of the Jonas Brothers. But I guess judging by the rollout and the preview for the James Corden car karaoke, the song was just meant to be like this super produced, glossy, and clean single that would get a lot of 20-year-old girls screaming with nostalgia for the Disney Channel. As a man, though, who never really got into this boy band, I'm still impressed with the catchy qualities we're getting on this song. The falsettos are similar to Nick and Joe's solo work. The whistling sampled on the track is also very captivating. The bass line is very hooky, but the thing I'm most impressed with on this song is the syncopated drum pattern. As a drummer myself, I appreciate them putting this in mainstream music. It kind of switches up the typical bang me on my head until I want to die 4/4 rhythm. Or the other trendy drum beat is the badunce badunce tropical house beat that has been put on every Drake song for basically the last 3 years. So good on the Jonas Brothers for putting this into their song. Now we just have to wait and see if they'll come out with a new album. Up next, Gesaffelstein and Pharrell Williams team up for a single that is sure to make all Daft Punk fans salivate. Back in January, The Weeknd and Gesaffelstein teamed up for a single, Lost in the Fire, notable for its seductive and glossy beat. Again, the production on this new tune, Blast Off, is similar. It's straight out of the 80s, and get ready, this might be an early contender for hit single of the summer, possibly even giving the Jonas Brothers a run for their money. It's funny because the track starts off like this corny little ringtone, but once those funky synthesizers kick in, you're in for a wild ride. Sounds a lot like Men Without Hats, a Canadian 80s band known for their song Safety Dance, but I love the sensual lyrics on this new track. I love the chorus. The Oh Higher Higher refrain is definitely one of the catchiest I've heard this year. So passionate, just a great song. Moving on from there, Weezer have a new album, The Black Album. I recently reviewed it, so if you have any free time, make sure to check that out. The song that's being played the most since its release, at least for me personally, is called Too Many Thoughts in My Head. Again, a song that has the drums steal the show. I really love what Pat Wilson does with the snare fills on this one. Rivers' lyrics are comedic, being high on cookies. That just makes me laugh every time I hear that. There's also a nice ukulele and auxiliary percussion that rounds out the pop rock feel to this song. Also, I'd really like to shout out the third verse on this song. There's some classic Weezer vibes going down there. There's some referencing of Dead Batteries and Random Access Memory. Pretty nerdy, but you gotta love it. Another hot track, Pup released their second single for their forthcoming album that is due to drop in April. This new single is entitled Free at Last. A lot of yelling on the track. Pretty sure this is the brand and style that we get from Pup, just be aware of that. But the drumming and guitar is very invigorating. Just an all-around fun and quirky little rock tune. Foals have a new song out. This is my first time checking out this alternative rock act from England. Their new single is called Sunday, and it's almost 6 minutes long. The premise and the lyrics, though, very enticing. I love the perspective of the youth seeing the world around them crumble before their eyes in a very carefree manner. The instrumentation is very engrossing. I get lost in the soundscapes and the mix of the encapsulating keyboards and horns, and by the 3-minute mark, the drums pick up the beat, driving home this section that somehow reminds me of industrial rock, something that maybe Depeche Mode would do with their voices at least. The synthesizers are a bit more modern though, and they remind me more of Deadmau5. Just a beautiful yet melancholic song. Rounding out the hot tracks this week, Ellie Goulding returned with a powerful pop ballad. It's about a lost love and lover. She's barely holding on to this love that is in flux, as the song is called Flux. The vocal performances are beautiful, her falsettos take me to heaven, and it's heartbreaking to hear her say that she's still in love with the idea of loving someone, even though deep down she knows that she needs to move on in order to put herself back together. The lyrics, I just gotta give a lot of praise to them. For a pop song in a musical time that is dominated by sex, drugs, and not rock and roll, it's actually trap rap, it's nice to hear this vulnerable and mature state of opinion. Now until the middle of the road tracks, and these are ones that I think are okay, not the best, not the worst, they're just worth mentioning because you might enjoy them more than I do. First up, G-Eazy and Blueface, they collaborate on a quick 2-minute rap song called West Coast. This one has a decent beat. Blueface definitely has the more memorable lyrics here. His rap performance is full of grotesque and filthy lines about sex. I'm not really the biggest fan of that style of rapping, but with the viral Tatiana kind of remixes being put out there, I feel like people will be fans of this. Yeah, I'm still sitting here trying to figure out how Tatiana went viral in the first place. Regardless, moving on, we have more hip-hop releases from Tierra Whack. Last week, I enjoyed my first taste of her style on the song Only Child. This week, she's put out another single. This one is called Clones. However, more of it is consumed with bragging, and that's what is turning me off of it. The 808s make it fit for the club. It's just unfortunately a little too repetitive, and the vocal performance gets on your nerves pretty quick. Arizona have a new song. I talked about their singles a few times last year. I really enjoyed Summer Days. This new track, Find Someone, uses the same kind of guitar plucking that weaves its way through the entire track, but I'm finding this one just to be a bit more underwhelming. The chorus is very boring. I still enjoy the instrumentation, but I just feel like it's not doing much for me. Moving on, Juice WRLD has moved himself out of the cold tracks bracket and has bumped himself up to the middle of the road tracks this week. I don't know if he's intending to shed his influences anytime soon, as honestly I think this is the major part holding me back from enjoying his music. But Hear Me Calling is a decent song. It's got a okay melody. It's just a lot more tolerable than what I'm used to hearing from him. Now until the cold tracks, and these were by far the worst I heard. I Can't Get Enough by Benny Blanco and Selena Gomez, as well as Taney and J Balvin. I really thought Selena already had learned her Spanish lesson, but apparently not. I still think the music industry is feeling the Despacito effect. I'm now coining that term in case no one else has already done that. Fairly self-explanatory ever since the release of Despacito by Louis Fonsi and the remix with Justin Bieber. It's absolutely opened up the floodgates for artists like Drake and Selena Gomez to pursue this wannabe Spanish trend. I'm just hoping that this stops because I really hate to dislike these songs, but there's nothing really going for them. Maybe in another culture they're special, but I guess I'm just a privileged white boy who doesn't understand it. Some pop music to round out this week. The Canadian pop singer Carly Rae Jepsen put out 2 new singles, both underwhelming and unlistenable in my opinion. They're boring and bland synth pop at best. I just feel like the hooks were never fleshed out to be enjoyed. These tracks are entitled Now That I Found You and No Drug Like Me. That's all I have for this week's installment. Thanks for joining me. I'll catch you next week in the next one. Let me know what new music you're listening to. Sound off down below in the comments. Leave a like, subscribe if you're new in town, and as always, have a rockin' day.